What's the role of a facilitator in a Scrum team? And it's not only the Scrum Master. I think this is one thing we have to put out there, is anybody in the team can step up and be a facilitator. If we go back to very much the basics, facilitation is about making other people's lives easier. And it goes all the way back to Latin facilare, if you want to nerd out on that sort of stuff, which is to ease things, to make things easier. And that's the job of a facilitator. You're there to make other people's lives easier. Now, we often talk about it in meetings, but before I dive into that, take a moment. It's not only meetings that people facilitate. Hi, my name is John McFadgen. I'm a certified Scrum trainer. I'm the managing partner with Agile Centre, and I've been in the Agile and Scrum world for over 20 years now. There are things beyond just meetings that we facilitate. I know the role of a Scrum Master, the accountability, if you're going to be one of the pedants out there, you're going to be somebody who makes other people's lives easier. That's the nature of it. Okay? Is we are looking for ways to help this team cohese, come together, move into a performing state. And we're going to be doing that by helping them make their lives easier. Helping them do it, or indeed, if they can't, we may find others to do so. This is what it means. So what do we need to be doing? Well, we need to be aware of what people need and what they want and why, to be available to make those decisions at the right times, to have those conversations as they matter. Okay? The role of a facilitator is going to be very simple. Make other people's lives easier. Now, in meetings, this is where we do most of it. Okay, yes, there are things outside of the meeting, as I've already mentioned, but when we talk about facilitation, really, most people are going to mean, how do you lead a meeting well? How do you get people out on time? And that is the role of a facilitator. If you've ever been in a meeting without a facilitator, you may well have encountered this thing where the meeting goes on, doesn't really have any structure, you don't achieve the purpose, you run over time, and then you kind of book another meeting to have the meeting that you were meant to have just had. The role of a facilitator, the purpose behind it, is to make sure that the meeting is useful, that the time is well spent. You know, it's productive, there's a purpose, and people work towards that purpose. Facilitation at its heart boils down to two key things. Guiding attention and ensuring everybody can join in. So guiding attention, you're going to need an agenda, you're definitely going to need a purpose to your meeting. Why have we all come together? Scrum gives you some out of the tin, why we're in a planning meeting. That's pretty straightforward. But other meetings may not be immediately obvious to everybody. If you are the facilitator, you need to ensure at the start of the meeting that everybody knows why they're there. Okay? Because otherwise, how do they contribute? How do they contribute usefully, fruitfully? They can probably talk, and I've certainly worked with people who love to talk, but do we want to listen to them about that topic? So think about the purpose. What is the purpose behind this meeting? Because as a facilitator, we are going to be bringing people back to it. Does this help us achieve the purpose? Does this conversation, does this series of questions actually move us closer to the goal of this meeting? And when I'm talking to people about this and when I'm teaching about facilitation, I do get people, particularly those who are in a Scrum Master role, who don't have technical chops, go, but what happens if it's too detailed? What happens if they've gone too deep and I don't know? Well, it's actually quite simple. Ask, because somebody in the room must know what they're talking about. So ask them, the people that are talking, is this helping us achieve this goal? And maybe I'm not surprised anymore, but I certainly used to be, with the regularity with which people would just go, actually, no, this isn't. Okay, great. Sounds like it's an important one. Let's, make a note of it, and we'll loop back to it at the end and make sure that we've got space to have that chat, but not for now. And people respect that. People actually value that because it's easy to go down the rabbit hole. It's easy to get drawn into an interesting, intricate challenge and discuss it and poke and prod at it and have that conversation rather than the conversation you came here to have. Having somebody there to just pull people back up out of the weeds and say, is this useful? Now, if they say yes, okay, well, should we time box it? You know, how long do we need before I'm going to check in again? Because I'm not understanding what you're saying. And they might give you a time box, you may offer one, but make sure you've got a way of stepping in again. But often just that reminder is enough for people to go, we need to talk about that, but that's good enough. Okay, well, let's finish that conversation and then we'll get back to your regular viewing. Okay? And that leads us to the second part. How do we engage people? Right? We need a purpose, we need an agenda to keep people on track. How do we engage people? How do we ensure everybody who wants to has the opportunity to speak? Because that's a big part of this. Making sure people are talking about the right stuff, but making sure everybody has that opportunity. How do we include everybody, and the caveat being who wants to be included? Right? So there are going to be some people who naturally talk in meetings, those who don't like quiet, those who think through speaking out loud. Nothing wrong with those. Right? And in fact, they can make, in some cases, our lives easier, but as with everything, in some cases, our lives harder. Right? It's about tempering those people. The people who want to talk, who are willing to talk, great, they'll engage. But how do we dial them down to dial up the people who are quieter, more reserved, shyer, more introverted? Maybe they're not engaged. Maybe they don't really know why they're in the meeting. We need to draw those people out. And there are lots of tools and techniques, but I tend to ask them. I know it's a revolutionary idea, but I will turn around to people and say, John, have you got anything to add? I haven't heard from you in a while. What are you thinking? And let them talk. Or if they say, actually, no, I'm good. Okay, move on. Right? For me, this is a great way of doing it. Providing the option, giving people the opportunity. Do you want to add anything? And you do see people sometimes online as well as in person. They're trying to get a word in, but they don't really know how to do it. As a facilitator, you have a level of authority. You certainly have an ability to pause the conversation, invite them in, add what it is they wanted to say, ask what it is what they wanted to ask, whatever is that contribution, give them the space. The role of a facilitator is very much the person who keeps people on track and provides space for everybody that wants to join in, so that we come to the best answer. Right? You're going to have lots of different ideas. The great thing about a team dynamic is there's lots of ideas, lots of different perspectives, a bit of a melting pot. No one perspective is right or wrong, they just are. But somewhere in the middle of all that, in a well-working team that is talking about interesting stuff, well, you're probably going to come up with a better idea between the team than any individual could have. And that's really what we're there for, is get people out of a meeting on time, yes, but get them out with a better result than they could have had if they just sat at their desk and done their job. So this is the role of a facilitator in a Scrum team, somebody who makes people's lives easier and better.